Welcome to Akhara Study. For centuries, the ancient landscape of Bengal was a world apart. Tucked away in a misty, vibrant delta carved by rushing rivers, this lush environment remained outside the influence of Vedic cultures dominating central India. That geographic isolation allowed the region to operate as a wild frontier. Instead of massive, centralized kingdoms, it was home to autonomous, fluid tribal societies that thrived on their own terms. Eventually, the frontier began to integrate with the north. We can see early signs of political influence arriving with the Mauryan Empire, which left behind these brick foundations at Mahastangar in North Bengal. Despite these early Mauryan outposts, Bengal remained socially distinct. Its societies maintained a fluidity and independence that contrasted with the more rigid hierarchies taking shape across the rest of the subcontinent. The 4th century brought a more permanent change. Through military expansion, Emperor Samudragupta incorporated Bengal into the empire, organizing the region into a major administrative province called Pundravardhana. This shifted the region from scattered tribal lands into a structured imperial province. The Guptas installed a bureaucracy of district governors, record keepers, and administrative offices to manage the frontier directly from local headquarters. Integration linked the delta to an all-Indian trade network. Backed by imperial stability, Bengal began exporting silk, cotton, betel nut, and sugar to markets reaching as far as Southeast Asia and China. Physical evidence of this economic growth appears in the archaeological record, specifically in these gold coins. Look at the intricate details of the seated archer. High-value currency like this began circulating throughout the province. The consistency of this imperial iconography across coins found throughout Bengal suggests more than local trade. Because these coins maintained the same weight and purity standards as those in the imperial capital, it indicates a centralized, statewide management of the currency and the broader economy. The Guptas established Bengal as a vital economic province, funneling valuable resources into a continuous trade loop that connected the eastern delta to the wealth of the interior empire. Managing a booming frontier required a loyal, literate class to handle the administration. The empire needed people on the ground to verify records and maintain the new imperial order. To solve this, the Guptas encouraged the migration of Brahmins from central India. The state granted them large tracts of land, effectively turning these scholars into a network of local administrators tasked with bringing the delta under agricultural and political control. We have physical proof of these systemic land transfers in epigraphic records discovered at sites like Damodarpur and Gunegar. This weathered copper plate, held together by heavy metal binding rings, records those specific grants. Tracing the etched Sanskrit letters on the surface, we can see how the state embedded a new social hierarchy directly into the land laws. These plates served as the legal foundation for property ownership in the region. These inscriptions show that Gupta-era society in Bengal was highly dynamic. Social rankings were often tied to practical roles in government and land control, reflecting a relationship between local communities and the realities of imperial power. Local administrators, tribal groups, and incoming Brahmins collaborated to manage farming and governance. They negotiated boundaries and expanded irrigation, shaping the region through practical cooperation. Bengal's social structure was built on the requirements of land management and economic integration, reflecting the administrative needs of a growing empire. When the central authority of the Guptas eventually faded, fierce local rulers took over. In the power vacuum, leaders like Shashanka of Gauda established independent kingdoms, maintaining their own sovereignty. Later, the Pala dynasty took control, building monuments like this tiered brick stupa at Somapura Mahavihara. While representing a new political era, they kept the underlying administrative systems the Guptas had introduced. This created a paradox in the historical record. The Palas were devout Buddhist rulers, yet their inscriptions show them actively protecting and granting land to Hindu Brahmins. The land-based administrative system was so effective for governance, it outlived the empire that created it, adopted by subsequent dynasties regardless of their religious beliefs. Centuries later, a powerful legend emerged. It claimed that an 11th century king named Adisura imported 5 pure Brahmins from Kannauj to educate a local population he described as ignorant of traditional rituals. This story is often cited as the origin of the elite Kulin Brahmins and the source of modern Bengali surnames like Mukherjee, Banerjee, and Chatterjee. However, the copperplate evidence we've seen contradicts this timeline. These records prove that a sophisticated Brahmin-led administration was operating in Bengal hundreds of years before the period described in the legend. The myth likely served as a political tool for later elites. By claiming descent from Western scholars, they could increase their own prestige and social standing within the local hierarchy. Bengal's social complexity evolved organically over centuries. It was driven by land grants, administrative needs, and the practicalities of life in the delta, as recorded in the copperplates of the Gupta Empire. To keep exploring the evidence behind the world's most significant histories, like, share, and subscribe to Akhara Study.